It's Who's In, Who's Out on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
Well, we let the PT catch his breath here. Sports Bash is back.
I'm just settling in. My breath is here.
I like the Steve Miller Band reference.
Yeah.
Well done.
Who's in, who's out? These are the 12 teams we think will make the NFL playoffs. It changes so much week to week. Let's see who we got this week. In the AFC, we'll start over there. Patriots, no challengers so far. Although the Bills beat them. The Bills hanging around. Anybody?
One game
A one-game anomaly is more how I'd put it.
Tom Brady's coming back. So obviously it is now time for the rest of the NFL, specifically the AFC East, to shudder because the Patriots are going to start pulling away.
Congratulations, Rex Ryan. You finally got to beat Bill Belichick once in your career.
With a third-string quarterback who was hurt. Well done.
Yeah.
Hey, that third-string quarterback whipped whoever he played the week before, and I think we're all going to have them in the playoffs. In the North, tough division to handicap here. Last week, I went Pittsburgh. This week, I'll stick with Pittsburgh.
Right there with you, Mike Gill. Pittsburgh last week, even though they'd had the hiccup against the Eagles, well, they actually got beaten pretty badly against the Eagles. And if anything, they took out their frustrations on Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Ben Roethlisberger didn't let the rain bother him. It was raining at Heinz Field on Sunday night, John, and that didn't seem to slow down their offense one bit. 5 touchdowns for Big Ben. Le'Veon Bell comes back and carries the ball 18 times for 144 yards. And even D'Angelo Williams, they found a role for him as he scored a touchdown in that game. So I got the Steelers right back in there.
Yeah, I'm going back to the Steelers. I had them completely out of the playoffs last week after that embarrassing performance against the Eagles. Mike Tomlin called it Redemption Sunday. He should have called it Bell Sunday because the difference was Le'Veon Bell returning at about 180 yards of all-purpose offense. So, yeah, the Steelers are different when he's in the lineup, and you saw it. I'm back.
He's back, baby.
Back on Pittsburgh.
For whom the bell tolls, got to say.
It tolls for thee, Grossbard. Let's go to the South. The Houston Texans, 3-1. Everybody else is 1-3 by default. Even if you don't like the Texans, they're going to win this division.
How do you not like them off this 3-1 start they've had? I mean, go for Apollo 13.
John has reasons. I can see that.
Houston, we do not have a problem.
No, awful division. They're going to win it, but they play the Vikings this week, so good luck with that, Brock Osweiler.
In the West, tough one here. Denver, Oakland, Kansas City, spin the wheel. Who do you got? I got to admit, Denver's way better than I thought. Defensively, Simeon, doesn't matter. Lynch comes in, throwing touchdowns. I'm impressed with Denver, and I'm going to stick with Denver. I made the switch to Denver last week. The week before, I had Kansas City. I started with Kansas City. They got bombed the other night. That doesn't make me fall off of them, but I don't think they're going to win the division.
Just want to check this real quick here. Week 1, Denver. Week 2, Denver. Week 3, Denver. Week 4, Denver.
Yeah, I mean, reigning Super Bowl champions, and I said it last week, if anything, they're getting better quarterback play than what Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler gave them last year. But it's interesting, there's already some whispers. Lynch showed so much after Simeon went down. Trevor Simeon might go 4-0 as a starter and lose his job. I don't know how often that happens. Either way, Denver's winning the division.
All right, wild card. This is tough. The AFC wild cards are competitive. I think you got to at least throw Buffalo into that mix now. You got Baltimore in the mix, Cincinnati in the mix, you got Oakland in the mix, you got Kansas City in the mix. So I'm going Cincinnati and Kansas City. Going to Kansas City, Menudo.
I had Baltimore in last week. I had Baltimore and Oakland in last week, and they played each other this week, and I still have both those teams as my wild card teams. I have Baltimore in there despite the loss to the Raiders. Then I have the Raiders in there for what David Carr and the Oakland Raiders were able to do, able to pull out a win in Baltimore.
I'm down on Baltimore this week because they've been living on the edge, winning close games, and now it jumped up and bit them. So I'm going Cincinnati. I think they righted the ship, and they're back in the conversation. Then you got to go Oakland Raiders with Derek Carr, going down the field after losing the lead against the Ravens on the road and winning that football game. Let's go the Oakland Raiders.
I'm not ready to commit to them just yet.
I don't blame.
Not yet. That's our AFC. Who's in and who's out? There's some decent teams on the outside. Look, you had the Bengals out, PT.
I had the Bengals out. I think I had them out last week as well. I'm just not sold on the Bengals. No, I had them in last week. Last week they were my last.
Flopper.
Yeah.
They were my last. No, I had them out last week. Week 2, I had them in. They've been out since week 2 for me.
That just means you're flipping and flopping even more.
All right, NFC West. This one's tough because the clear favorite at the beginning of the year was Arizona. They're in last place. The team that was the worst team in week 1 is now in first place in week 4. The team that's tied for first has so many injuries, and then there's Chip.
Good old Chip.
I'm going to go with
S8.
Seattle.
Right.
Seattle impressed me last week with the injuries. They travel across the country. They beat up on that Jets team pretty good. Russell Wilson looks healthy. I was concerned with him the last couple of weeks. That's why I had been backing off of them. A healthy Russell Wilson is a playoff-bound Seahawk team.
I have the Seahawks in as well. In week 1, I had the Seahawks in, and then I moved them out after they had that ugly loss. But I had Arizona in week 2, and now the last couple weeks, last weekend, this week, I'm back on the Seahawks board. 3-1 Seahawks, and like you said, Mike, they look very impressive winning and making that cross-country trip. That's not easy for teams to do.
Yeah, West Coast teams going east. You're supposed to lose those type of games. Seattle, very impressive. But can I go Los Angeles Rams? No. Don't be silly. Seahawks win that division, and they'll win it rather easily now that Arizona doesn't look like Arizona.
South, another tough one because you got a team 3-1 like the other South, and the other 3 teams are all 1-3. One of which is defending NFC champions. The team that's in first place was 6-0 at one point last year, and then fell apart. Are we supposed to believe that they have changed? They're the only team in the division with a plus number. They're plus 28. Everybody else is under the number, PT. But I still think if they go to Carolina, they're not winning that game, and I think the Panthers will figure it out. Unless Cam Newton doesn't play this week with the concussion.
There's a lot of ifs.
Then I might change my tune. But until then, I'm going with Carolina for at least one more week.
I don't know if you've heard. This might change both your opinions. Falcons signed A.J. Hawk today.
Buckeye. Yeah, I like that.
So I'm sticking Carolina for at least one more week.
You stay Carolina. I had Carolina in week 1. I had Carolina in week 2. Now, I'd like to say, because I picked them early, I was on the Falcons board, I think, before anybody else was. And I know they still have their issues on defense. But if they get in a game that's a shootout, they've shown that they can win. And certainly this week, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I had the Falcons last week winning the South. I had the Falcons again this week winning the South.
Yeah, I'm going to the Falcons. I'm going PT's way. Matt Ryan is my quarter pole MVP. Julio Jones, 300-yard receiving game, 6th receiver ever to do that, is a physical freak. And the Carolina Panthers are just not playing well defensively. A lot of it has to do with giving up on Josh Norman.
Right.
You got to go towards Atlanta right now.
Penn Charter guy, too. Philly guy, Matt Ryan. So he's got Philly ties.
Exton zone.
He's tough.
That's true.
He's from Philly. He fights.
Yeah, Penn Charter. But he lived in Exton.
That's what we do. We fight. Minnesota, I got in the North. I picked them in the preseason. Haven't wavered, and you saw why last night. Minnesota wins the North.
I got Minnesota all over the North. Minnesota in week 1, Minnesota in week 2, Minnesota in week 3, Minnesota in week 4. They're 4-0. I feel like I was ahead of the curve on this.
I was behind the curve because I said I'm not taking Sam Bradford over Aaron Rodgers week 1. But then they beat Aaron Rodgers in week 2. So, hey, the Vikings have, if not the best defense in football, it's right there with Denver. They are the NFC North champions to be. Again.
You talked about it earlier, the quarterbacks that defense is shut down.
Yeah, Cam Newton,
now
Eli Manning.
Let's go to the East, boys, where it's the Philadelphia Eagles on top. Dallas is 3-1, and then 2 500 teams. So about a game and a half separates first from last year. It's the most competitive division in the entire NFL. It's the only division in football that does not have a team under 500, and it's the only team in football the only division in football that realistically all 4 teams have an argument. So I'm going Dallas. I think right now Dallas has the offense. This is the same reason why I stuck with Dallas the last couple of years, and of course they let me down.
Where'd you go last week?
New York. But the Dallas line, Ezekiel Elliott starting to look like he's getting the NFL game.
Ezekiel
Their defense isn't as bad as I thought it would be.
It's pretty bad.
Not as bad as I thought it would be.
Must have thought it was going to be abysmal.
Well, their 77 points is second best in the division, which is significantly better than Washington at 112. And the Giants, I just think something's wrong with the Giants. I'm not sure McAdoo doesn't seem like he's getting it. Like,
well,
he might be better
like
coordinator guy.
I know
he looks like the guy with the stapler in Office Space.
Yes, Milton. Yes. Have you seen my stapler? I need your TPS report.
And here's why I like Dallas. Down the stretch they come. Cleveland, Washington, Tampa, Detroit.
Strength of schedule.
Couple nice games down the stretch for them.
Remember those salad days in week 1 where I had the Redskins winning the NFC East?
Yeah, I had
of us did.
I had them winning it too.
They've won 2 games.
Yeah.
Even their record of 2-2, but I'm not putting them back in the NFC East lead. I had the Giants in week 2. I'm not putting them in the NFC East lead. And to your Cowboys point, they are in my NFC playoff picture. However, I do not have them winning the division. I am sticking with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, I'm already stealing Teron Davenport's Ginger Jesus line.
That's a great line.
And
the quarterback incubator. I like that one.
Yeah, my own personal Jesus.
Last time I looked, the Eagles were the only team with Ginger Jesus, so they're going to win the NFC East.
I think
probably get some Harry Potter names out of the Ginger. We call him a Weasley.
This will be an interesting division in, who's out. In the wild card race, I think this is very interesting too. In the last couple of weeks, guys, we've had trouble finding a second wild card team. I think this time around, there's some options. My options are Green Bay and Philadelphia, with Arizona out. Arizona out.
You're right on that second spot. I've had Green Bay in a wild card spot every week so far. I've had the other wild card spot is the one that's more difficult to pick. Week 1, I had Arizona in there, and I had Seattle winning the NFC West. Week 2, I changed that around and had Arizona winning the West and Seattle in there. Week 3, I had Arizona back in and Seattle winning the West. And now I've still got Seattle winning the West. I have Arizona out of the playoffs. And I am going with the Mike Gill NFC East winner, the Dallas Cowboys, as my second wildcard team, which would mean I'm picking 2 NFC East teams to make the playoffs.
That's silly talk. I'm going Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Then that second spot, to me, it comes down to who is worse of the 2 teams we all thought were going to be good. Carolina, Arizona, and I'm leaving Cam Newton and the Panthers out. I'm going down with the Cardinals ship.
So you basically went Palmer over Newton.
When you put it like that, probably not a good decision.
No.
But
well, it's not to mention Palmer's schedule against Newton's schedule is probably going to be a little easier.
I'm going Arizona Cardinals.
I'll tell you, it's tough to say that Arizona's not getting in, but something's not right there either.